Welcome to Wayne County Connection. I'm your host, Michael Sweigart. Thanks for joining me this month again as we promote Wayne County as a great place to work, live, and play. As always, we do that by two ways. First, we highlight individuals and agencies that are doing their part to make Wayne County a great place to work, live, and play. And then we encourage you to get connected and do your part as well. And the way that you can get connected is obviously by watching this program and then by following up afterwards. You do that by visiting our website at waynet.org/cc, where you can find links to today's guests and the agencies that they represent, the events that are going on in our community. And then you can also visit the Wayne County calendar page at waynet.org/calendar, where you can find out about the events that are going on in our community, among other places. And you can get links to other places in our county and in our communities that are doing great things to make our community a great place to work, live, and play. I say that repeatedly because we build on our strengths. We focus on our positives to make this a better future for all of us by getting connected with our neighbors in our communities and outside of our communities to do the things that we can do to promote our area. We encourage you also to share the program with people that do not live in our county or do not get the program on its broadcast on Comcast. So you can do that by visiting our website, where you can find information about the on-demand and streaming versions of our program. Again, that's waynet.org/cc for more information. Now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our first guest today. We'll be having another guest later in the program. But starting the program today, we have LuAnne Holeva from the Wayne Union, I messed it up already, the Wayne Union Solid Waste Management District.
Yes.
Right, okay. And you are the Conservation Education Coordinator.
Yes.
Boy, that's a lot. It seems like I haven't had a guest with such a big title for a while. But LuAnne, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And like we normally do here on the program, I'd like to start with making the connection between you and our guests. And I'd like for you just to tell us a little bit about yourself and your connection with Wayne County.
I've been in Wayne County for almost 30 years now. Mm-hmm. And I work as the Conservation Education Coordinator for the past 15, 20 years with the Wayne Union Solid Waste Management District and the Richmond Sanitary District on recycling and stormwater, and also for two soil and water conservation districts, the Wayne County one and the Union County one. That
sounds like a lot on your plate.
Yes.
But it's all related to the same type of objective.
Right, conservation and saving our resources.
Okay. So the focus of our program today is exactly that, conservation and recycling and using our environment in a better way. We're in spring, it's spring cleanup mode. Everybody's in the idea of cleaning up. We're excited about the greening of the environment, the grass and the trees are blooming and the flowers are blooming and everything, and want to take care of that. And so we know that there are some specific community cleanup days going on, but as an ongoing opportunity for people to be involved, there are also recycling opportunities in the area, and we want to talk about that today. And so let's talk a little bit about what the Solid Waste Management District does to make the disposal of waste better for all of us.
Okay. The Wayne Union Solid Waste Management District focuses on recycling, and with that we have drop-off locations that are located at the transfer stations. Wayne County is located over at Hagerstown, and the one in Union County is for Union County residents only, but it is located on Kitchell Road, just off of US 27 South.
Okay, so there's a transfer station where people can drop off recycling items in Hagerstown, and that's for any resident in Wayne County?
Correct.
Okay. And what kinds of materials can be recycled at the transfer station?
Starting with steel, like your cans that you get vegetables in, and dog food cans. Paper, they'll take newspaper, office paper, magazines, those types of materials. Cardboard, paperboard, which is like your cereal boxes.
I was going to say, explain the difference between cardboard and paperboard, because sometimes, people use those terms interchangeably for different products, but it's not really the same.
Yeah, cardboard, they're talking about the corrugated that you get your stuff in the mail with, Amazon or UPS, things like that. But paperboard is the pressed form for your macaroni and cheese, your cereal boxes, and so forth.
How do you know we eat macaroni?
Aluminum cans and aluminum pie pans. They'll take those at the transfer station. Plastics, they'll take 1 and 2 plastics, but they'll also take the film, the grocery sacks, or things that are wrapped up in plastic, your paper towels or your toilet paper or your water bottle cases and so forth. And glass.
Okay.
Forgot the glass. They will take glass bottles and jars, not window pane glass.
Okay.
Bottles and jars.
Okay. So basically the materials that you purchase at the store, most of that can be recycled, including the films that are used in packaging materials and so forth. We know that, and I see in grocery stores, many of the entrances, they have receptacles to take those plastic bags back. If you're not using a reusable bag, which are available for purchase in almost all the stores.
Yes.
But they do take those plastic bags back, and you can take those back instead of throwing those in the trash.
And people shouldn't feel guilty about using a plastic bag if they don't have anything, because they do bring it back. And there is a business down in North Vernon that takes those and shreds them up and makes them into new plastic bags or new film. So don't feel bad about it. It's being reused, and you're helping the economy by keeping jobs in Indiana.
Well, there we go. In Indiana. You mentioned plastics 1 and 2, but if you've looked at plastics, you know that there's a little triangle on there, and it has a number in the middle, and there are lots of numbers beyond 2.
Right.
What about those plastics? What can we do with those?
For plastics 3 to 5, you're going to avoid purchasing them, finding a product in a different type of container. The problem is the market for plastics. We used to send a lot of our plastics overseas for recycling. A lot of those markets have closed, and so now we have these extras, and then we can reuse them, like flower pots out of them, use them for containers to store things in, wash them, reuse them. But there's just not a market for those other plastics at this time like there used to be.
Okay. So that seems kind of, we're in a kind of a catch-22 then as consumers, because we want to be able to recycle, but then we don't have an opportunity to do so.
Right.
And it's sometimes you don't find out what the number on the can is until, or on the product is until after you've already used it in many cases.
Right.
But anyway, in addition to the transfer station in Hagerstown, what other recycling opportunities are available for Wayne County residents?
If you live in the city of Richmond, you've got the sanitary district. They have curbside pickup. You get your little blue Ritchie roller and a list of materials that you're allowed to put in there. And what you can't put in there, like the corrugated cardboard, you can take those out to the landfill. They do get recycled. They just don't pick it up curbside.
Okay.
And they are, again, plastics number 1 and 2, aluminum cans, glass bottles and jars. Any paper, newspapers, magazines are put on top of your Ritchie bin because they have to be put in a separate compartment within the truck.
Oh,
That's why you can't mix it in there.
Okay.
They do not take the plastic bags because when it gets down to the MRF, the material recycling facility, those plastic bags can get caught in the works of the machine and stop it. So.
Okay. Well, that answers one of the questions that I had, which is, what about the things that we can't recycle? Why can't we recycle those? And that's one of the answers. There's the reason that the Ritchie rollers don't accept those thin plastic grocery bags is because they gum up the works.
Yes.
But what about other products? Is it always just a physical handling issue, or?
Unfortunately, sometimes there's contaminated waste that gets in there. Needles and so forth, and if something comes in and dumped on the floor and has that whole load then has to go to the landfill because they can't process that because it's hazardous for those people to sort it by hand, those particular items.
Okay.
So you don't know where else things have been hidden and how many more were in that particular load that was picked up. So they're very specific about what they will take, and we do recommend they rinse them out, not only because it makes the whole process cleaner, but helps reduce rodents and insects and so forth from hanging around those particular bins.
Okay, that was another question that I had. I've seen sometimes that recycling agencies will say wash out products or no food materials on cardboard, for example, pizza boxes. They don't want, with cheese remnants in there.
Yeah.
And my thing was, well, if they're just going to grind it up anyway and reprocess it, why does it matter if it's got food particles on there?
Well, it's a little different. With like aluminum and glass, they heat it up so fast and hot that those materials will burn off.
Okay.
But with cardboard, they grind it up and then make it into a pulp again, so it never really gets hot to get rid of those contaminants.
Okay.
Same thing with the plastics. They don't get it as hot to get rid of some of the sticky gooeys that were in the bag when you threw it in there. So.
So if you've got 2-liter soda bottles, for example, rinse those out to kind of get that sugary mix out of there so that it doesn't dry and get stuck on that and make the process more difficult or gum it up altogether.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for other products, if there are things that are not acceptable, for example, we think of electronic devices and so forth. What do we do with those? I mean,
we have the collection at IU East on the 4th Saturday of the month, and they do have one coming up this month, which is April. They do take collect a lot of materials, but they don't take tube televisions. That's one of the big things. Tube televisions are more difficult now to recycle and process for the safety issues, and if you want to get rid of it, you're going to probably have to pay for it. The city of Richmond might be a little different. I'm not up to date on if they're still taking TVs at the landfill or not for residents of the city of Richmond.
Right.
But out in the county, you will have to most likely pay to take care of it.
We're almost out of time for this segment, and I want to revisit the locations for county residents to drop off recyclables. If you could just tell us where that transfer station is again.
It's in Hagerstown. It's south of 38 along Highway 1. There's a sign along the road that says WR Recycling, and it's down Paul Folk Parkway.
Okay.
And the recycling bins are set outside there so you can see them, and they list what you can put in there.
And where could people contact you to find out more information about solid waste management in Wayne County or Wayne Union County?
They can call me at my office. My number is 966-0191. I'm extension 3. But I'm in the Soil and Water office, so make sure you want to talk to LuAnne about solid waste.
Okay.
Or you can go to our website, www.waste-not.org.
Okay.
And we have a brochure on there as well, so if you can't recycle it and you want to reuse it, there's a listing of where you can take it.
Okay. And you have an office also if people want to stop by or no?
Yeah, they can stop by the USDA Service Center, and if I'm in, I can come up and talk with them. But they keep me in the back.
They keep you in the back. And where's that located?
It's on Round Barn Road, south of US 40. The number is 823 South Round Barn Road.
Okay. All right. LuAnne Holeva, sorry. Holeva, Conservation Education Coordinator for the Wayne Union Solid Waste Management District. Thank you for coming today and talking with us about recycling here in Wayne County.
All right, well, thanks for letting me come out.
Thanks. And we'll be right back after this brief break.
Hello, I'm LuAnne Holeva, Conservation Education Coordinator. Dedicated to assisting and educating our citizens in conservation management through proper use of the soil, water, and natural resources of Wayne County for all generations is what the Soil and Water Conservation District strives to achieve through outreach programs and assistance with conservation practices. We are located in the USDA Service Center on South Round Barn Road and open weekdays 8 to 4:30. To learn more, give us a call or visit us online.
Welcome back to the second half of our program as we're talking about recycling and waste management here in Wayne County. Joining us in this second half of the program is Stephanie McCurdy. She's the Program and Volunteer Coordinator at Cope Environmental Center, and we're going to learn a little bit about what they do to help with solid waste management here in Wayne County. Stephanie, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks. Welcome back, I should say. You've been here before. But for those of you who don't know you, tell us a little bit about, briefly, your Wayne County connection.
Well, I've lived in Wayne County all of my life. I've really enjoyed living here. I live in a small, a little small piece of land out in Centerville, and there's so much to do here with the kids and so much fun things going on in the community. We have a really close-knit community here, and it's just been a really great place to live.
All right. And for those that don't know about the Cope Environmental Center, the environmental location down there just off Airport Road, a little bit about that.
Well, the Cope Environmental Center was founded in 1992 by Jim and Helen Cope, and they were educators. Helen worked for the school system, Centerville Schools, and Jim worked for Earlham College, and they were passionate about sharing their love of science, nature, and sustainability with everybody who would even look their direction. And that shows with what we are able to do at the Cope Environmental Center even today.
And there has been one thing that has gone throughout the history of it. They kind of carried on that education background with all of the volunteers and bringing that to the community, to Wayne County and the surrounding area, with helping people learn how to interact better with the environment.
Right.
And one of the things, and the focus of our program today, that's really important to us is solid waste management. And Cope Environmental Center has a couple of programs that are ongoing to help residents with solid waste management. One is the EastCycling Program. Tell us a little bit about the EastCycling Program.
Right. So on the fourth Saturday of every month, we have the East E-Waste Recycling Program with IU East, and so people can bring out their electronics that they are no longer wanting or needing and have those recycled. If it's a television, the big chunky square ones from
1940.
Yeah, just a few years
or,
ago.
Or 1999.
Those are not recyclable through this program, just the flat screen TVs, but any of your other electronics, if it has a cord, we can recycle it.
Okay. And it's very important to e-cycle those or e-waste those because it's managed differently than just taking it to the landfill.
Exactly. A lot of the components inside of our electronics have heavy metals, and when those get into the soil and they break down in the soil, like if you just took it and threw it over the bridge, that would contaminate our water sources and our soil sources. And water is the lifeblood of our body. Our bodies are 75%. We have the same amount of water that we've ever had on Earth. So if we contaminate that water over and over and over again, we cannot exactly clean it.
Right.
So we really need to make sure that we're recycling all of our electronics appropriately, and then all of our other stuff appropriately as well.
And it may not seem like such a big deal. Oh, I've got one little, I mean, it's only this big, you know, that's not going to matter. But enough of that starts to matter quite a bit. And a few years ago, I was investigating e-cycling and involved with circuit boards. And you may not know it, but there's a small amount of gold in almost every circuit board, which doesn't seem like it's such a big deal, but there are companies out there that will grind those things up for that small amount of gold also. So that's a really good thing. They get something out of it, we get something out of it, and the thing that we get out of it is a cleaner environment.
Right.
So on the fourth Saturday of the month, at IU East.
At IU East.
And they can learn, viewers can learn more about that by visiting your website?
Yep, copeenvironmental.org.
Okay.
The collection is from 9 to noon, so
Okay.
don't sleep in. You got to get there early. Not super early, but yeah.
Yeah. But it's once a month and, you know.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
In addition to the e-waste e-cycling program, there are some other solid waste management programs available through Cope Environmental Center. One that probably doesn't get a lot of airplay in the area, and it's not necessarily the most pleasant to talk about, but it is kind of important, and that's composting.
Yes.
And composting might seem like, what's the bother, what's the worry, you know?
Right.
But tell us a little bit about what composting is, and if I'm interested, how do I get started?
All right, so composting is recycling your organic waste. Is
Okay.
basically what it means. So say I'm going to eat
Apples and bananas.
apples and bananas. And I peel my apples and I have my apple cores and I have my banana peels. Instead of throwing them in the trash can where they are stuck inside a plastic bag and then taken to the landfill and then thrown in the landfill where they rot for 60, 70 years, they don't really ever decompose when you get right down to it. You can take them out and throw them in your compost pile, which for us is just basically a pile in the corner of the yard. And everything, the worms come up and break them down. And a banana peel will take about 4 to 5 months to break down completely. An apple peel and an apple core is gone in 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay.
So we compost all of our organic kitchen scraps. And all of our like the leaves when you rake your yard, anything from the garden, all those kind of things go in there as well. And then it creates new soil for us to use in our garden and our potted plants and those kind of things.
So just pile it in the corner of the yard? It seems kind of like
seems kind of weird.
Yeah, and how do we protect the yard then from being like a gathering place for raccoons, possums, and other scavengers? I mean,
Right.
I can just see, you know, having a nice little compost out there. I'm trying to keep the landfill clean. On the other hand, I've got,
Right.
you know, poker playing raccoons out there.
So there are a lot of different methods of composting. From the very simplest form, which is, you know, I live in the country, so when I say pile in the corner yard, I have a pretty big yard to choose from. So my corner of the yard is way over there. But if you live in town, that corner of the yard might be a little bit more of a challenge. So they have compost bins that you can get that look kind of like you can actually make one out of a big giant Rubbermaid trash can, drill some holes in it for drainage, and just start throwing your stuff in there. And then you can put the lid on to keep the critters out of it. Because it will kind of attract critters. If you get one that's black, that heat from the sun will heat up the compost and it'll cause it all to break down a lot quicker. And then you can have that, we call it the gold soil, because it's rich in all of the nutrients that we need to help fertilize our plants. You can have it faster if you heat it up faster.
Okay. And then is there maybe a class or a course that Cope Environmental Center, or additional resources that are available to people who are interested in getting started? This down and dirty discussion that we've had done here is not really enough information, I think, to get started.
We have the Sustainable and Attainable program on the last Thursday of every month, and the Thursday in May is our composting session. So if you want to learn about composting, come on out. We have a pro composter coming to teach us all about how to do it on the different scales. At the Cope Center, we are a net zero building, so we compost a lot of the items within our building. So when we have a cup of tea, we compost our tea bag. We have an event out there and it's more than, say, 50 people, we're using compostable paper plates, paper cups, silverware, and all of that goes into our compost bin. Ours is quite a bit bigger at the Cope Center. It's 3 sections. So we have, we use this section for 6 weeks, this section for 6 weeks, this section for 6 weeks, and rotate it through. And then that speeds up our composting quite a bit. And then all of that goes onto our gardens, which have been going on for about 60 years, and we produce a couple thousand pounds of produce every year out of our gardens using that compost and the seeds.
That's a huge scale, and actually I wasn't aware that it was quite that large of a scale out there. I don't think many of our viewers were as well. 3 sections and so forth, but you mentioned something just now that kind of brought up an idea or a thought in my head, and that was you talked about having compostable paper products.
Yes.
And I think that I know that a lot of people think, I don't want to deal with dishes and so forth, so I'm just going to buy paper. It's so easy to do, and then they throw the paper in the trash.
Yes.
And then it doesn't decompose. I read a story not too long ago about an excavation of a landfill, and they were getting newspapers out of the landfill that once you get the top layer or 2 off, that might have been contaminated by something else in the trash can, but it was perfectly readable, and it was from the 30s. It was just crazy how it doesn't break down once it's packed in and closed and there's no air getting to it and so forth. So when we talk about those paper products, they don't really break down if they're sealed up.
Nope.
But there products that can be recycled or can be composted?
So they use it like a cornstarch sort of base. Do you know those little popcorn packing things, and you put them in the sink and you pour water on them and they dissolve?
Okay.
It's something similar to that, only it's not going to dissolve with your food on it.
Okay.
But it's that kind of a theory of a starch-based product that will disintegrate very rapidly. And by that I mean less than 6 months. Not while you're eating your dinner.
Which is really good, because that would kind of defeat the purpose.
Right. But they don't want, those can go to the landfill, I guess, but they're still not going to break down because of that whole air process. You need air and water to help things decompose. So those products would need to go into a compost pile, kind of an open air breakdown system.
Okay.
And then make sure that they aren't treated with chemicals that are going to contaminate our environment either. So there's some really good websites. You can Amazon eco-friendly compostable paper plates and get some really great stuff.
Okay.
Or you can call us at the Cope Center and we'll tell you exactly how to get it.
Really?
Yes.
That's amazing. Yeah, so it's one of the things we want to do is make the connection between our viewers and our guests. And so people can call the Cope Center, and the number will be on our lower third here. So we've talked a lot about recycling, this program, but there are 3 R's: reduce, reuse, and recycle.
Yes.
And just before we started taping, you mentioned a 4th R. So let's go over those and some of the ways that our viewers can get beyond recycling to maybe reducing, reusing, or what's the 4th R?
Well, the fourth one is refusing.
Okay.
So we all love our bottled water, right?
Mm-hmm.
And those single-use water bottles are terrible for the environment, and not necessarily because they're break down or anything, but just they don't ever really go away. They're going to take 200 and some years to decompose. They're going to be here for a long time. But we use enough of them as Americans to circle the earth around the equator 4 times if you put them end to end. That is a lot of water bottles.
That's a lot of plastic.
Yeah. So then think about how many you use in your house every week or even a day. Being able to use a water bottle that's reusable would save, even if you cut 50 of those out of your life in a year, that's 50 water bottles that you've taken out. So a reusable water bottle is a great thing to be able to make a big difference in how we, in our impact on the earth.
And impact on the earth.
So if we think about if we use a reusable water bottle and a reusable grocery bag, we've just taken care of the 2 biggest challenges in our environment, the plastic bag and the plastic water bottle.
There you go.
So.
And there's a lot more to learn about the 4 R's at Cope Environmental Center. We're out of time again. Stephanie McCurdy, I know, we talk so much. Stephanie McCurdy, Program and Volunteer Coordinator at the Cope Environmental Center. Thank you for coming and talking about ways that we can manage our solid waste here in Wayne County. And we encourage you to get connected with Stephanie and to learn more about the ways that you can get involved to do your part to reduce, reuse, recycle, and refuse, and manage our solid waste better here in Wayne County, because the better we manage our resources, the better it is for all of us, and it makes Wayne County a great place to work, live, and play. I'm your host, Michael Sweigart. Thanks for joining me this month. We'll see you next month.